Hi everyone, welcome to my channel International Storyteller. In this channel you will find true horror stories worldwide. These stories are for entertainment purposes only. In this video, I will tell you the story of one of the most scary Japanese ghost called Kuchisake Onna. She is also known as the slit-mouthed woman because she has an enormous slit mouth that extends from one ear to another side of the ear in a horrible permanent smile. She has long straight black hair, pale skin, and wears a simple beige trench coat. She partially covers her face with a surgical mask and carries a huge pair of scissors. When covering her face with a mask, she appears to be an attractive and beautiful woman. Kuchisake Onna is the ghost of a woman who was mutilated and has come back to seek vengeance on the world. She walks in the streets of Japan and comes for you when you least expect it. She usually appeared during dusk or twilight. It was during the time when children were either coming home from school or going to cram school. It was such a fear that parents and teachers even formed groups that would accompany children going to school or coming back from school. Sometimes, police even patrolled the roads that children took. She appears at night to lone travelers on the road. If you are walking home from school and take a path down a deserted city street, she will wait in the shadows as you pass by, and before you can react, she will be standing in front of you, blocking your path. A surgical mask covers the lower half of her face. In Japan, wearing a surgical mask is common during flu season to prevent spreading germs. So at first, you will think she is just a lonely girl at night wearing a mask. But she is a vengeful spirit of Japanese folklore, capable of causing harm or even killing the victim. If you cross her path, she will stop you and ask you a question. If you give her the wrong answer, there will be horrible consequences. Kuchisake Onna is an attractive young lady wearing a white face mask that covers the mouth. She will step out of the shadows and block your path. Then she will ask, "Am I beautiful?" If you say no, she pulls out a huge pair of scissors and kills you immediately, chopping off your head. If you say yes, she tears off her mask, revealing her scary and deformed face. Her huge mouth will open, revealing rows of sharp teeth and a big disgusting red tongue, twisting and twirling inside. Then she will scream, "How about now? Am I beautiful still?" If you say yes again, she takes her scissors and slices your mouth from one ear to another side of the ear, making you look just like her. Running is no use because Kuchisake Onna is very quick and might cut you in half out of anger. In some versions of the story, Kuchisake Onna will leave or will pretend to walk away if they answer yes to both of her questions, though she will follow you and visit your home. Then she will watch your every move inside the house. Later that night, she will brutally slaughter you while you are sleeping. An individual can escape and survive when encounter with Kuchisake Onna by using one of several methods. The most common way to escape from Kuchisake Onna is not to provide a definite answer. That is, by describing her appearance as average. The most important thing is to stay calm when she asks, "Am I pretty?" If you say you look average or you look normal, she will be confused, giving you just enough time to run away. You could also flip the question and ask, "Do you think I'm pretty?" As she pauses to consider, at that time you can slip away from her. Without this distraction, the victim cannot escape the ghost, as she simply reappears before them if they try to run. Another way to escape from Kuchisake Onna is distracting her by giving or throwing money in her direction, as she will stop to pick them up, giving enough time for the victim to run away. Kuchisake Onna was particularly fond of a hard candy called Beko Aim. So if one threw those hard candies at her, she would be distracted, again leaving time for the victim to escape. A Japanese associate professor, Ayakura Yoshiyuki, who researches oral literature in Japan, says that Kuchisake Onna must be the first purely Japanese ghost. But how do such stories emerge and develop? Kuchisake Onna was well known in the Edo period of the 17th century, but she slowly faded into the shadows as time passed. Then, in the early 1970s, she returned to the public imagination. Because at that time, children claimed to see a scary girl wearing a white mask everywhere around the city of Nagasaki in Japan. The police began to fear there was a killer on the loose, and panic grew with each new sighting. They bumped up night patrols and put out local warnings, but they could never seem to find her. And then in 1979, a rumor circulated that an old woman in a farming family in a town in Gifu Prefecture spotted a woman with a huge slit mouth standing in the corner of the garden. The local newspaper printed an article about the story, and it spread among the local people of the area. 6 months later, the rumor had spread nationwide. One of the major reasons why the Kuchisake Onna was so popular and really one of Japan's first urban legends was because of modern media. When the Kuchisake Onna legend spread in the late 1970s, the Japanese economy was changing as households across the country acquired the basic elements of urban cultural life like televisions, cars, and telephones. The story of Kuchisake Onna was not only spread by rumor, but also covered and mentioned by newspapers, television broadcasts, and magazines. From around 2000, the legend of the Kuchisake Onna traveled overseas via the internet. It has gained similar ghost characteristics, such as Red Mask Women in South Korea. Red Mask Woman is a Korean ghost similar to Kuchisake Onna, except that she wears a red mask. There is also a similar figure, like the Japanese slit-mouthed woman. Within the urban myths of the United States, there were rumors of a demonic clown in the United States who took children to public bathrooms or deserted buildings and asked, "Do you want death or a happy smile?" If the children chose the happy smile, he would use his giant knife to slice their mouths, and if they chose death, he would brutally kill that kid. In 2007, a Japanese official found records indicating that in the late 1970s, there was a woman who chased children. But one day she was struck by a car and killed while she was chasing children. When they checked, she did have a torn mouth, similar to the ghost of Kuchisake Onna. This woman was likely the cause of the panic in the late 1970s. Another record of similar shocking cases was also found during that time. The shocking story takes place at night. The records showed that many children had mysteriously died at night. Family members start seeing a woman with a similar appearance as Kuchisake Onna at the time and place of their children's deaths. According to legend, Kuchisake Onna was a woman who was mutilated during her life, with her mouth being slit from ear to ear. Others say that she was injured in a terrible car crash. Some even believe that she was a crazy mental patient who cut her own mouth apart. Another version of the story states that her mouth was mutilated during a medical or dental procedure. She was mutilated by a woman doctor who was jealous of her beauty. The doctor filled her mouth with numerous sharp teeth. After the failed cosmetic dental procedure, she went insane and committed suicide. There might be many different versions of Kuchisake Onna, but the original story of Kuchisake Onna comes from the Heian period of Japan's history, roughly 1,000 years ago. The story began with a young and very beautiful woman. Years ago, in Japan, there lived a young and very beautiful woman who was married to a samurai. After marriage, they lived happily for some years. She was very proud of her beautiful looks, but looks can be deceiving. She started secretly cheating on her samurai husband by meeting a younger and more attractive man. Her husband was a very brutal samurai. He began suspecting her of being an unfaithful wife and that she was cheating on him. One day, he found out about the affair that his wife had with another man, and she was planning to leave her husband. He grew very angry and knocked his wife unconscious and tied her up. When she woke, he threatened to kill her if she left him. Then the samurai raised his sword and sliced his wife's mouth from ear to ear. And then he asked, "Who will think you're pretty now?" After that incident, the samurai wife grew mad from her injuries, and at last she committed suicide. She later became a restless spirit who started roaming on earth, asking people, "Am I pretty?" and taking revenge on them.